снимает звук, а вот эту штучку я не включила. Так, все, теперь. Так. Good evening. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Teufelian Happy New Year. I decided to come by today to wish all of you a Happy New Year. I actually wanted to come earlier, but I slept through New Year here. But I think for Americans, Happy New Year just happened. So I thought it makes sense if I come on in the morning. It's not lost yet. I wanted actually to be in the evening here already, but I was so tired. I thought that some of you still will be around. С Новым годом вас, мои дорогие! Меня не удивляет, что я в это время читаю русские комментарии, так как нас все ночи праздновали. И теперь только под утро домой вернулись, да? Happy New Year, Mojito. Happy New Year. So I was still a little bit, I just woke up like half an hour ago. Made myself ready. Went right into the stream. So I have a tea here. Yes, I actually woke up on the New Year because I heard the fireworks, and then I was having alarms, and so I was waking up every hour, but I was like, I can't stand up yet. So I slept. Yes, actually. I was trying to stay awake between midnight and 2 a.m. because I was like, I'm gonna go at 3 a.m. on maybe then, but it wasn't possible, so maybe I slept like 4 or 5 hours. I'll have to find a way to fall asleep today so that in the evening we can stream again. Z the puppy. Well, I'm glad I was able to make it here, so I can wish you a Happy New Year when it happens for you. So, tell me, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing today? Do you have this festive New Year's Eve mood? In Russia, we don't celebrate Christmas as much, so all the celebrations are on New Year, and it is a huge holiday in Russia, much more so than it is anywhere else, I think. And I was very disappointed when we moved to Germany and discovered that New Year isn't a big thing here. Everyone is all about Christmas, and Christmas is kind of boring. It's like sad music. It's more like for families. It's like it's not compared to the party that is New Year in Russia. Not even close. but it is like, you know, what people grew up with. So the Germans are like crazy about Christmas, and for me Christmas is like, yeah, well, whatever. I've never I never liked Christmas very much. And New Year's Eve, because no one celebrates it here as well as I was used to, has also lost its magic. So that was really sad, like really sad for me. It used to be my favorite holiday, and then it was like. But my family in Russia, they're still all about New Year. They're so happy whenever it comes, and everyone is calling each other and like, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. It's such a big thing for us. Well, I'm not actually from Russia, I'm from Belarus. But personally, I don't. I identified as Russian, Slavic. I never, never seen much of a difference. So yeah, that's why I'm always like I'm saying I'm Russian, even though technically I'm Belarusian, White Russian. The Germans actually translated, so the country is called Belarus, which you could translate to White Russia, and in German it's called White Russland because they actually have translated, but I think English is still Belarus. So we just change a little bit. Sorry, this year I have not made a big celebration party here. It really was a very hard end of this year for me. I hope that next year will be better. I want to work harder in the next year, and I want to make it up that today we have nothing special. Over Christmas we had nothing special, and I hope that next year I will be able to prepare something beautiful for you for Christmas and Eve. But today I thought if I come on it's better than nothing, right? And then next year I want to make better streams, and I want to make videos, and I want to make Patreon again, and I hope to just create beautiful content for you. And also I'm just so thankful to have all of you. I'm so thankful for the support that I'm getting. Just the fact that I have such an amazing audience really means a lot to me, and especially as this end of the year was very difficult for me, I found myself being even more grateful for what I've got, and that is a beautiful feeling. So just want you to know that I really appreciate what I have here. And I hope for all of you that you have things in your life that you appreciate as well. And if it is hard right now, I hope that in 2022 will be your best year yet, where you will achieve all the things you want to achieve, or at least have good starts for things, and be in the middle of the things, right? Always on the go, always thinking of something, creating something. I hope so, Brian. I hope that this is a wish that I have, that when I grow and I have a positive energy, that I can share that, and that my audience too feels like they want to strive for their goals, maybe sometimes lost goals, find old hobbies, and just be more compassionate to yourself. Because I feel like this is a skill that we no longer learn in nowadays society. We have a very success-oriented society. We have a very a society that focuses a lot on what you can do and how well you can achieve, and I don't believe that is healthy. I don't believe that is natural for the human being. There are indigenous, I think that's the word, indigenous people who are not like that at all. They don't raise their children in the belief that they need to perform perfectly at a difficult task, and they're happier people. So I hope that all of us, that we will learn to be more compassionate with ourselves and not be angry when we fail sometimes, and when we're not always strong, because that's part of life. And I have been blessed, because you know that sometimes I disappear for 1 month or 2, and every time I think they must be so angry with me, and then I come back and you're just being amazing to me. And I wish from the deepest of my heart that every one of you gets the same treatment, that whatever, ever, if there's something going wrong in your life, that you're always accepted and you feel like you have not lost anything. Because we should be allowed to be sick and take time off. And yes, indigenous people are I think happier from research. They like make like tests, and especially like you would think even people who still live in wild nature, where there's danger to be even attacked by like a tiger, right? You'd think they'd be having so much anxiety, but they just don't. We are living in anxiety. We think it's a normal state of being, to be kind of anxious, depressed. It's just, part of life. But for them, that's not the case. Something like depression is extremely rare for indigenous people, and I do not believe that city as itself is a bad thing, but I do believe that the way that we construct our society today is a bad thing. And I do believe that we as human beings should start on creating beautiful cities with beautiful homes, and with, for example, I think everyone should have a minimum salary that he gets, no matter if you work or not, because the things they are out there, we as humanity, we have created so much. We have all those machines, and we have all those it is so easy to build new homes, to have enough food for everyone. We have perfected our crafts. But what happens instead is that 1% of the population becomes very rich and the rest is struggling. It just hurts to see that, really. It really does. And even Germany, that used to be a very rich country, even like 30 years ago. And now Germany is still rich, but not in the middle. And I think that happens all over Europe, that Europe was this place where you had people in the middle being very well, having like nice homes, and you could have like a random job and be doing very well with it, and that is no longer the case. And I don't believe that it is because of, we are still like, people work hard and create a lot, and the countries, they're not poor, and Germany isn't poor. That's just what they do with our money is not all right. And in Germany we have homeless people, and it's like, how is it even possible in a country like Germany? Last year I met a homeless woman. and they kind of like, I don't know, it was a very hard day for me, and she came over because she could tell that I wasn't doing well, and we talked, and I don't know, like it just was painful to see such a good-hearted human being to be treated like that. Fortunately, like I wanted to help her to look for an apartment, to go to the the places where you can, like, sometimes homeless people don't know what they can get, what they have a right for, because it is very easy to dismiss them. But when they have someone who's trying to help too, it's not so easy to dismiss them when someone is sitting next to them and being like, hey, they have rights, I know that. But fortunately, she found an apartment right after, like 2 or 3 weeks after we met, so I was happy about that. Yes, late stage capitalism, probably. I have read, done a little research about what capitalism evolved like in America, for example, and they found out that on the universities in America they don't teach anything about communism, socialism, no Marx, no Engels, and that is a bad thing, because that is like the best funded and best quality criticism of capitalism. And even if you are for capitalism, you should read up the criticism against it so you can better it, but no one tries to better it, and that is sad. Yes, it is, but it's always been, capitalism has always been to found the rich and to keep down the poor. And I actually, you won't believe that, but many Russians miss Soviet times, because they felt stable. No one had much. Like my mother lived through that time. They didn't have much, but they never had anxiety about, probably it depends where you've lived. Like, we are from the capital of Belarus, so that was not the richest place, but it was stable, and no one was rich. And unfortunately, the upper politicians, they were stealing. They were stealing a lot. That is the sad thing. But people were not unhappy. Not more so, like they became the best. The worst time came after the communism broke down, because the country opened, and then from Europe came a lot of capitalistic people, and you need, like, imagine Russians at that time. We were like children. We were very innocent. We didn't have a capitalistic soul. Many of us still don't. And then from Europe and from America, a lot of people came in and stole a lot. And then some of our people, they also noticed that right now is a good time to steal. And everything had been stolen in the 90s. And it was a very difficult time, a very beautiful time too, because the people at that time, it's the most, Russia is amazing. But it was a hard time, and it had been better before. I don't know exactly how it is today, though. I've heard that people are unhappy. And in Belarus, it's a very hard time right now, and I'm sad about that too. Yes, governments are corrupt. And when I moved to Germany, they would tell us, like, yeah, Germany is a great country, and there's no such thing here. And I was like naive, and I, okay, I'm gonna believe that, because the country looked rich, and so probably it's true. And then I had my trust completely broken in 2014 with the Ukraine crisis, and when I saw our politicians and media lie, in a way where you cannot believe that this is happening in a democratic country. And ever since that, it's like, I don't care what politicians or media says. If I have no way to know myself for sure, then I just consider myself as not knowing, because I know that they lie so badly. And the only way for you to see is when you are highly informed on a topic and know probably more than one language, and then you can compare what is being said in the whole world, and you suddenly notice, hey, they are lying to us. And so ever since that, I'm like, no. No longer. Ich habe hier gerade über die DDR einen Kommentar gelesen. Ich habe das nämlich gemerkt, dass die meisten die DDR vermissen. Ja, war eine schöne Zeit, oder? Ihr hattet das bessere Sowjetunion. Also bei uns war es noch ein bisschen ärmer. Und die DDR war natürlich auch nicht reich, leider auch sehr viel gestohlen. Aber doch reicher ein bisschen als wir. Also bei uns war das immer so jemand, der in die DDR gehen konnte. Oh mein Gott, die DDR ist so toll. Ja. Und klar, dann hatte die DDR die Grenzen aufgemacht und dann dachte man, jetzt wird man willkommen geheißen als Bruder und Schwester. Und stattdessen hat man gesagt, ja, ihr seid so ein bisschen was wie schlechtere Deutsche, die nichts können und faul sind, was ja vollkommener Schwachsinn war. Aber so ist es leider. I am positive and hopeful, and I fully, truly believe that humanity will manage and that we will overcome this time. And one day we will be looking back and be like, what was even going on? But right now we are still fighting for it. E.C. Drake, you're saying regardless of the position of the economic ladder, capitalism offers the poor the means to improve their own well-being, which is why there is no better alternative to capitalism, really. To that I can say it does, but not to everyone. Some will and some won't. It is not about what they theoretically could, but what we see in practice. And what we see in practice is people being held down. In Germany, 30 years ago, when a child was born into a family that is poor, the chances that they would be poor when they grow up was 40%. Today, it is 80%. And that does not happen because there's no way around it. It happens because no one cares. And I'm not saying which system is the best, but I'm saying that the capitalism right now is on a way that is very dangerous, and every big society has birth, middle, and a death, and there's no way to prevent it. Maybe there is a way to prevent it, but I don't see it happening right now. So I am really not such a... I mean, we all live in a capitalistic world, and so we have to think capitalistically. That is something that I've been struggling a lot with, but like I cannot be a communist in a capitalistic world. I'll die. So I have to think capitalistically. But I can tell you it is toxic, it is poisoning your mind, and it really isn't good. And I know what people were like before capitalism came to us, and you would not believe the difference. It is insane how people were so sweet and pure-hearted, and then to see them, you know, money doesn't do good things to people, especially when it's not there and you live in a capitalistic country, and that is the truth for many people. Yes, there are people in the government that aren't like that. Here in Germany, we have, for example, no one in the current Regierung, government. They are, I don't like them. But we do have a few politicians that I know that they are pure-hearted. But they can't change anything, that's true. I'm not saying that we need communism, but also I think capitalism is not any less dangerous than communism. They have basically the same control. And now with social media and with the algorithm, they have so much control. Everyone who has read up on what's going on right now actually behind closed doors and what kind of experiment actually is being taking place in the whole world for the last, let's say, 10 to 15 years. I don't know. It's crazy. Getting rid of money completely. I don't think that breaking down a system completely is ever good. It's never good. You have to look at what you have, be honest, be ready to change things, but never like breaking everything down to build something new. It's never good. Shadow of the Old, Happy New Year to you. It's just, I think for me, I'm the last few years, I'm so sad about all those things. I try to not watch too much like news, but there's just no way around it. You just see it everywhere, and you see the corruption. Even in Western countries, many people think, oh, it doesn't happen here as much. But it does, but the people here are still so trusting that they just are not ready to see it, and it's just making me really very, very sad. На что ответить я? Я все не успеваю прочитать. Yes, insane. I know that because I come from a place that has broken down what was to what. Then only people come in to steal and they know how to do it. Нет, не кажется, я говорю по-русски, да. But what I do believe is that most people are good-hearted. I really do believe that there is more good people. Unfortunately, it's the bad people that are ruling us, and it's just really so sad because most people are good people. Okay. Yes, Menarque. Yes, the Americans oversimplify things. That is true, and I think that very often people from countries like you're saying you're Spanish and or me being Russian or even any European country or not European country, and especially people who speak more than one language, I think they don't oversimplify because they just personally know more. More. In America, a lot of information is being hauled away. When I learned English, it's like about 5 years now that I'm like into the English language, and no, I think 4 or 5 years. I don't know right now. I think 5. 5, at least 5, if not 6. So I noticed that worldviews change. Like every additional language is changing you as a person. You learn so much about what is going on in the world, but also like America is a very progressive country with a lot of great minds and a lot of great things coming from America, and I would never talk that down. But politically, America is really difficult. Like I'm looking at what's going on in America socially and politically, and I'm just in awe. And the worst thing about it is that it is spreading to us, and it really is dangerous what's going on right now in America. I think it is being fed. I think there are people who profit from it, but it's highly dangerous. I agree. Yes, I agree with you, the devastated one. What I found very difficult, very difficult to understand is the current race debate in America, which is such a difficult topic that even saying the words right now is making me feel a bit anxious, because it is very difficult to talk about this topic. But we don't have, we are much further along in Europe in that topic. And we are, I feel like, also falling backwards with this whole I think racism is a horrible thing, but the way the debate is being led in America is so highly dangerous and destroying any movement forward that had been to see before. That and I just don't understand why. Like when I learned English, I had people from English-speaking people, like kind of making fun of me for being like, "Oh, you white girl, you typical, you basic white girl," stuff like that, and and I just didn't understand where that even comes from. I was like, wait, why did? And I mean, it was white people making fun of me for being like basic white girl, but first of all, I'm Russian. That is a bit different, I think, than being American or even European. And second of all, I don't get that. It doesn't make sense to me, to the whole discussion. But I also heard that it is actually being fed because people profit politically from this this very like the more there is anger between these two groups. It's like old times, divide and rule. Even old Romans said divide and rule, right? So I think that is what it is. So let black and white people be angry at each other, so that they don't notice that we all are actually still being enslaved, just in a different system than it had been before. And just let them fight, let the poor people fight over who is more privileged, so that they don't fight against those who are actually ruling. And yeah, it's sad to see. Yes, staying with the vax debate is actually happening in Germany too, and I just really don't understand what they're trying to achieve. That's so unhealthy. Well, I am Russian. My country has not ever colonized anyone, and I'm white, but I don't have that not all white people have a history of colonialization. Not all white people have reason to, like, the same people who did the bad things, for example, in America or Europe, they did bad things to us Russians too. We have a very difficult history as Russians, and because of that, like, personally, I can say this much. Russians, many of us, have been killed in the Second World War II, by Germans. It was we grew up with it. We hear about it from being little. For example, I grew up in Minsk, which is the capital city of Belarus. And not far away from the city, there is a village that is called Hatyn. This village is an example for many villages. The Germans came to that village. They have put all people in a house and burned that house down. And only one boy survived, who was out that day in the next village. And stories like that we have not forgotten. We are still mourning the lost ones. We have, everyone has like a lost grandfather or grandmother, someone from the family, and it's not far enough away to forget. At the same time, there's absolutely no anger to the Germans. There are no expectations to the Germans. we understand that the Germans who are living here right now have nothing to do with this. They're good people. Germans are really good-hearted people. They have nothing to do with what happened. Russia was 42 to 45. The war was actually 39 to 45. They have nothing to do with this. And even the Germans back then, it was like, that could have happened in every country. Do you think like what do you think it's happening right now? You know what America is doing in the whole world. It is happening right now, and no one stands up. You can't blame people like that. And so I think with this whole race debate, it's gonna be only over when we say, okay, it's time to move on for everyone. It's just, there are always going to be differences. I mean, the Germans are still real jerks to the Russians. I moved to Germany and I was treated so badly, and I have still, I think, big parts of my depressions go down to the horrible way how I've been treated by the Germans. I've been told by grown-ups that I won't be able to have good grades in school because I'm not German, and Russian children are just more stupid. And this was just the consensus where I lived, that, I'm a Russian child, so nothing's going to become of me. And now look at me now. But this is normal. This is human. This is what happens. This is, forgive, accept what happened, forgive, work on yourself, because there is a lot of trauma when you've been treated like that. And I'm still working through that trauma, but I have absolutely no anger towards Germans. I actually like a lot of them. I moved to a better place where people are a bit more open towards foreigners. And nowadays, Russians are no longer hated in Germany, because Russians are really easygoing people. So around the 2000s, many Russians came over to Germany, and sort of was like a big hate train against Russians. How dare they? They're all stupid. But then the Germans noticed, they're actually fine. And so it stopped. Yeah. But I really believe that there's no other way than forgiving each other and letting the past be. It's in the past. It's over. We're not doing that any longer. And I mean, politicians are still doing it, but not we normal people. Yes, slavery, I think, happens still generally. So a whole system, everyone who's working in the system is actually being a modern slave. It's just we don't have the same conditions anymore. The conditions are better than it used to be in the past for slaves. But when you look at it, I don't see much justice in the system that we're living in, and I do believe that we are like laborers, and we have to go and find the next person to enslave us. So when you work someone, right, you're selling your time, you're selling more or less your body. You work what you can do, and very often it's a very unpleasant experience for people. So. And we have barely any rights. Like I have friends who work for companies, they are being abused, and there are just barely any laws to protect them. And I have friends who have been completely destroyed in the few years where they worked, for example, at a company, hoping to, spare a little bit of money and save a little bit of money, and their health is completely broken, and then they need time off, and they don't even get it, because it's like, we don't care, even though they are actually responsible for it. American healthcare system, I've heard a lot about it. I think the German one is better. we have a better, and even the German one, right now I'm standing in the situation where I don't, not for myself, but for family member, we don't know if we are going to get the treatment, and it's insanely expensive, which is why I want to work much more in the next year, so I can do it if it's not being paid by the Krankenkasse. The problem is that the pharma industry has power similar to that of a state, and they have prices that are impossible to pay for medication that is actually really not that expensive to make. And they don't even develop those medications. They're being developed for our tax money, and then they just buy the patents and sell it for like hundred thousands. And that is an entirely different discussion. What pharma industry is doing is another kind of evil. There are in Germany insurance pays too, but sometimes there are like newer medications that are known to help, but they refuse to pay them because they're like, we don't agree that you need that, even though actually research shows that it is a good thing. Well, Agranovsky, I don't know how much you read up on that topic, but you should really, there are very interesting information on the topic of pharma. Pharma has had great achievements, but they are like a mafia who has the medication that you need, but not everyone gets it, and they are making insane money. Insane. I truly believe that, and they don't even develop it themselves. It's not like they used to develop it themselves. They no longer do that. They're just really being evil. There's no other word for it. Like, really. Belarusian and Russians, if they were different groups, not really. I've never experienced it that way. For me. I don't see myself different than Russians, and actually, when I have, for example, my best friend, she's Russian, and we have so much in common in terms of worldview, in terms of our childhood. Our childhood was almost the same, even though we lived so much apart. Like, so she was like Siberia, and I'm Belarus. You can look on the map how far this is apart. They could fit a few countries in between, but we had seen the same movies as children, the same cartoons, we had the same school system, we learned the same things, there's just the same music, we know the same people, like from what you learn in school and also on television, and there's absolutely no difference between us. At least I've never seen it. Передаю привет. It's the Illuminati. I don't know anything about the Illuminati. I'm not an expert on that topic. I think no one is really. I think most of the information on that topic is just essentialism, or what's the English for it? I think American health system may be good compared to some countries, but I'm German, I have a German passport. I don't have a Belarusian one. I need a visa to go to Belarus. And as a German, we don't really take American health system very seriously here. And before you get angry, I don't want to make anyone angry. I wish the best health system for America ever, but make research on how things work in some other countries. And I think there's always room for criticism of your own country. There should be, and it should be happening, because otherwise you will stagnate. In Germany, our health system is not perfect too, and there could be improvement. But especially, I think they really, like, the pharma is really, the amount of money that things cost is that's not sane. Well, everything is programming, but that is not a sensible way to think. It's like there's no truth, there's no way to know truth. Yes, everything is programming, that is true. And we are programming ourselves, and we don't even know what we are programming. But I think there should be room for discussion, and there should be room for fight for our rights. And I don't think we humans, we have the bare minimum. I think there should be much more. We're just fighting the wrong people. Let's put it that way. I wish the best. Like, don't get me wrong. I ever since I learned English, I have known many Americans, and I think Americans are amazing people. Americans are friendly. Americans are respectful. Americans are, they have many great innovative ideas. They are amazing people. I don't have anything against Americans, but I obviously, and every European in this chat, now this is not the best time for Europe. I'm talking to the American audience right now, but everyone who's in Europe will agree with me, probably. I think 99% will. They are just, when it comes to American politics, they are not good. They really are very bad, and what America is doing in the whole world and in its own country partly. But to the Americans, the people of America, I wish them the best. From the deepest of my heart, I think Americans are amazing people. But don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, hey, but the Russian government is great and the German government great. They aren't. They have just less influence in the world, so they have less opportunity to do bad things. But they're not great governments at all. And I think it should be okay. I think we normal people, it should not matter. Like, I'm Russian, you're American, there's like no difference. We normal people, we should not buy into this whole thing like, oh, you're that nationality, so you're supposed to like this nationality, you're supposed to dislike this nationality. That's how we are being controlled. Now, we are all friends, we are being in the same boat. And we all should be very, very critical of our own governments. Yes, when you chat with people around the world, that's what I love about learning languages. There's just no way for you to be like, I don't like people from country that and that, because it's like, it's not how it works. People are amazing everywhere. Well, Russia is big too. Look at the map. Yes, all empires fall one day, but I hope that one day there will be like, a great community from all of Earth, because we are connected now. So I hope that one day there just I don't know. I am kind of scared about world government though, because if that government decides to be like a dictatorship, we having a huge problem. We're all controlled. They have all the information of us. There's no way back. I hope in future things will be different. But our generation, we're kind of in a very bad position. Yes, it is possible that a world government would be a dictatorship, and I know that there are certain countries who are already planned it, and it's like I'm not sure yet where to go and what to do to escape it, because I think the difference for me is I grew up in a dictatorship, and I have personal experience with how things can change from one situation to another. And I have noticed because in Germany, the bad times, they're long gone. And so people have this idea like, yeah, it's gonna be fine, things are just, there's no way it's gonna change. But for me, I personally made the experience that things can change very quickly, that a country can be completely overthrown in a moment, that between peace and war it can be just like one day, and that you may not even see it coming. And I don't, because of those experiences that I've made, I don't feel like, it's all safe. Like I definitely see a difference how, for example, Russians, what worldview the average Russian will have compared to example to general average German, and I think it has a lot to do at how the country has been doing the last, let's say, 50, 60, 70 years. Belarus has never been a dictatorship, not in disguise. We know that it is a dictatorship for a very long time now. I grew up knowing that it is a dictatorship. I never had my doubts on that. No one tries to hide it like Lukashenko. He's pretty open about it. He's been open about it for a while now, that he is the dictator and that he doesn't really want to change it. So, yeah. But I mean, dictatorship, I think people who've never lived in a dictatorship may have a wrong idea about what it's like. And it also depends a lot on the dictatorship himself. I would say the biggest problem is that people are being held down, that there is some injustice going on, that you always have to say, how do I make things work? Laws can change in a way that is just kind of not really fair. But most of the time, like in Belarus, on the streets, that has changed now because of what had been going on now. But before that, I was safer on Belarusian streets than in Germany. Like I could go out in the middle of the night, wear whatever I want, and I'd be safe. And politically, people are criticizing, at least were criticizing, saying whatever they wanted, nothing happened to them. The problem about the country was that it was poor, and that people had struggled to make their money. But there are not dictatorships that are having same problems. So, but as I said, it differs from country to country. There is no general experience of what it's like in a dictatorship. Agronovsky. And that is the reason why we should be discussing these things. I think, yes, we all lack the knowledge and intelligence, and we should discuss them. We should exchange what we know and what we don't know. We should get educated by each other. We should notice, okay, maybe I didn't know something. We should educate ourselves. There's plenty of material on the internet, and When you speak English, there's a lot. When you speak two languages, there's even more. There's always a way to educate yourself, and I think it is our obligation to know, to at least try to know what's going on. To be like, oh, we can't know, so we should not talk about it. Let's let the people talk who know, is a very, very dangerous decision. I mean, it's not like we can change anything right now, but I think just being aware of the things that are going on, and exchanging with each other, that is our human obligation. And I mean, it is not like this is such a dangerous topic that no one should talk about. It's like, what is going on with the world? Are we living in a dictatorship that the politics are a dangerous topic to talk about? Do you notice what's going on? Because I think people often don't know when they're living in a dictatorship. Like, you can be in a dictatorship and not know about it. So when you notice that you feel like politics is a dangerous topic, think about it twice, because it really shouldn't be. Well, some conspiracy theories, yes, that's one of the way to get people into a loop. We have the algorithms working in a way that feed this, and this is also very dangerous. But that's even more reason to talk about it, because we don't have like the group that is for this conspiracy theories. And everyone comes into this group who has this opinion, and there are no other opinion. This is a fairly wide group of people, so maybe you're even going to hear something new in the chat or make an interesting contact. Why not? I mean, it's New Year's Eve. When do you do something like that if not today? I am not educated on that topic. I don't even know how to. I have no clue how to see through things. Like, I've been trying and I don't understand. But I can at least talk about that I see things are going off, I don't understand, and I'm asking what you think. I want to know we are one generation, so we are sitting in the same boat. I want to know and to read, and I even go, like, after the stream, I'm gonna go back into the chat and just read, because I can't read everything right now. I'm highly curious about what you think. I'm highly curious to know what are the thoughts of the audience that I'm talking to 3 times a week. And I absolutely don't mind if someone is having a different opinion, and then maybe they can tell me something that I didn't know before, and then I have learned something new. Yes, that is the most terrible thing about conspiracy theories, if they turn out to be true, and unfortunately some of them do. And that's why I also don't like this whole idea of we have to dismiss every conspiracy theory. I believe in free speech. What I do think is difficult is the fact that the algorithm, I don't know how deeply you looked into this, by the matter of my work on the internet, I have a lot of experience with the algorithm. And I have looked deeply into that topic, and it's the scariest thing that has ever happened to humanity. I think it can be great. It is not being used in a great way right now. And actually, the whole divide thing that is going on, and this whole conspiracy thing that is going on, has a lot to do with the algorithm and how it... IE, I don't believe IE is bad. I don't believe IE is good. I believe that when you have research going on an IE for mainly 2 topics, military, AI, not IE, military and industries who are trying to sell products, and that is what the research of AI is going on, that is a very bad thing. But the AI itself can be a great thing for humanity, which is right now are maybe a little bit difficult spot, but I believe it will be good. What conspiracy theory I believe most? The social media algorithm are mainly to feed our own negative feedback loop. Yes, I do believe that. I think The algorithm has right now this idea, okay, I need to capture your lifetime. I need your attention. And if you suffer, I don't care, as long as that's the best way to get you. It's not because the algorithm is evil, but because the people programming the algorithm don't really care. And we are in a very dangerous situation because of that. Because as soon as you have extremism, there is no ground for democracia. What's the English pronunciation? Democracy. There is no ground for democracy anymore. If a democracy is sustainable in a country, depends very highly on the mental development of the people living in the country. So, for example, if you live in a country where people are used to pay corruption and to accept corruption, then it is very difficult to get that out of the country, and so and you can fall back. For example, what's the English name? Middle age was like a very dark time that came after a very light time where people were very progressive, and then we had suddenly a time where everyone just became very, very stupid. And right now I do think we have regression, and I think we can get out of it, but I think we just really need to stop accepting certain things that are going on. But I mean, I don't know, probably not all of you have read up on that, and I really highly suggest you do. So basically there's this idea when we build an AI that has surpassed the human strength, so basically that has become intelligent more than we are, then this is the moment when we lose control. And so we believe ourselves to be in control because AI is not at that point yet. What is being ignored, though, that there is an earlier point that the AI can do in order to have control over you, and you don't even notice right away, and that is when it surpasses your human weakness. So basically it's like chain is just as strong as the weakest part of it. We humans, we are very easy to make dependent. We fall easily into addictions. And that is what is happening right now. The algorithm has found how to capture your attention. It has studied you so well that it knows exactly, like, it even doesn't have anything to do with self-control. If you go on your phone because you need to check an email, and then the algorithm knows what to suggest for you to see, that you are going to see this. The algorithm knows you very well. And it's like, imagine like you being a drug addict and you want to stop, and then every day someone is just presenting the drug in front of your nose. There is a high chance of relapsing, which makes it very hard for people to distance themselves from social media. But you can say, okay, we can delete social media, but it is very difficult to do in a world that has become so connected and depending on social media, because you still need to compete in this world, you still need to work in this world, and you don't want to lose out on like you're being alienated. That word is a bit difficult. But you're going to be like, that kid in school that was not allowed to watch a horror movie that everyone else watched. And it's like not a cool situation to be in. And so that is a huge problem that we are facing right now, and that I think many are still not aware of, but we are being already in control. One of the ways to control is also the AI is using human intelligence to do this. So basically, when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't think much about it. I had nothing to do with this whole topic. I really found ASMR. I liked ASMR and I wanted to try. I did, and it at some point it started to go well for me. But right now I am recognizing that I am being trained by the algorithm to do what will capture the attention of my viewer. And it's my job. I can't go around it. It is what we all have to do in the society in order to survive. I hope, of course, that my content is the type of content that does not harm people, right? But I've seen a lot on YouTube and on Instagram and on Facebook. A lot of content is harmful, and people, they're just studying what works, and what works is negative loops, is making you feel strong emotions, and sometimes bad emotions work better. So this is something that the AI is already doing. Yeah, it makes for great science fiction writing, only it's actually happening right now. No, Valneroth, what I'm talking right now about is not the intellectual AI that is, smarter than the human being. As I said, it's about the AI that knows how to get you, how to get your attention. Even if, doesn't matter if you want to give it or not, doesn't matter if it harms you or not, and it divides society. I think this whole thing that we're seeing worldwide right now has a lot to do with the AI, and I've heard that there's a huge problem with Facebook going into third world countries, and there's this inside joke and meme in Facebook that wherever Facebook goes, 2 years later the country is going to be doing very, very bad. And that is because of how the group system works in Facebook. And it's not regulated here in the English language. We at least try to regulate it, but in other countries they don't. And that is dangerous. Do you think that some robins will say that they have developed from a vacuum? I don't know. I have big difficulty to understand what if we ever going to have a sentient AI, what it's gonna be like, what it's gonna think. С Новым годом всех! С Новым годом! Вот сейчас у вас уже утро. У меня тоже утро, но у вас еще утрее. I don't use Facebook. I don't know, it doesn't. I like Instagram a little bit, but comment sections on Instagram is also something that I avoid, especially the Russian ones. They can be really vile. And I can't, there's one thing that I absolutely can't bear, and that is seeing people being mean to each other. It's really it upsets me so much that I can have a bad mood the whole evening, because I've seen some people argue on the internet, or not even argue, but someone uploads a video of another person where they were silly, we're not perfect, right? And then there are other people who feel great about themselves because someone else is stupid in their opinion. I can't, because I've been there. I know what it feels like when people on the internet are mean to you, and I absolutely can't see when it happens to other people. What I think about Belarus being offered to be absorbed by Russia, but Lukashenko not wanting to, since he would have to give up his power, that is actually something that had been brought up in, I think, 94, right? And he refused back then, because he said, okay, we can merge, but only if I become the president of this whole thing, which of course no one wanted. But most people in Belarus wanted to have that. Most people in Belarus would have liked to be a part of Russia. I don't know what it's like nowadays. I think many Belarusians want to have access to Europe, because it means that there are better opportunities to start a business, to make money. You need food, you need shelter. So of course people are looking at that. I don't know what kind of benefits it would have, but probably would have benefits. But I don't have a Belarusian passport, and so I try to be respectful and kind of stay away with opinions, because I think when you live in that country, that is when you can have an opinion. When you live outside, you can be sad about certain things or happy about certain things, but it's not up to you, the decision. But my family is still there. I think they want into Europe, but I'm not sure if that would be a good thing for the country. But probably good for my brothers, because they are smart. Спасибо большое, Indeed Space. Да, я очень люблю ASMR. Я сейчас, года 3, наверное, себя очень плохо чувствовала, поэтому, к сожалению, ничего такого интересного не делала, но я очень надеюсь, что в 2022 году, в этом году, я смогу опять сделать красивый контент. Я очень люблю ASMR и очень ему благодарна за все, что я от этого имела. Я даже близко не ожидала такого развития. My regular voice, I mean, I still try to hold my voice down, but I just enjoy the conversation right now, just kind of like chill. My English is so bad to talk on those topics. I feel like I must sound so stupid, because when your language ability is not there, it's kind of difficult to express your thoughts on topics. I need to kind of work in that again. But I enjoy seeing how active the chat is and how many interesting messages I get to read. I don't answer to everything, because that, it goes very quickly. But is it possible to have an atheist robot or not, if AI was that strong? What exactly do you mean? Like that robots exist, but they are atheists? Well, I don't know, because robots are going to be much smarter than we are, and maybe they are going to make a conclusion that there is a God. Maybe it has nothing to do with how intelligent you are in order to be able to know if there is a God. We don't know any of that, so I feel like you can try to make predictions about what AI would be like if it became sentient, but I have absolutely, I like thinking about it. I like all those different ideas about what it would be like. My hope is just that we have smart enough AIs to heal diseases. That is all I wish from AI, and of course not to, enslave us or something like that. I don't know. The thing is, AI can take over, but why? You would have to assume that the AI has, the same ideas about what it wants. Maybe AI becomes sentient, becomes super smart, and decides hey, I don't want to have anything to do with these humans, and just leaves Earth, and you're just back to where we were. You don't know what AI would decide, because basically you're just stupid. There's no way for us to comprehend what. If there was, then we wouldn't need AI, or I don't know, want AI. But what would be the so AI? You can have two different types of AI. One that is being has a target, has a something that it wants to do, being programmed by us. So we program goal, exactly. It's having a goal that we have programmed for it to have. Then you have another AI that is sentient and that can make up a goal by itself. Now, what would be the goal of an AI? Why would an AI want us to be your slaves? Why would an AI would they want us to be there or not there? What is the goal of an AI that can make the decisions itself? I don't know if it would rebel, because an AI does not experience world in the way that a human being does. It can become sentient, but at the same time being indifferent to our matters. I just don't know. We assume that the AI will be very human-like in its wants and beliefs, but it probably won't. And I could imagine that you can program an AI, for example, like you can say, okay, there's this certain topic that is just not negotiable. For example, for me, I am deeply programmed to love. I am programmed to believe in the good. And there were moments in my life where I was doing so bad that I was like, I don't want to care about any of that anymore. But it stays there. It's human. We want to be good. We want to laugh. We want to do good. It's just sometimes very scary. Now, maybe it is possible to have something like that for an AI, that you program something that is so deeply ingrained that it's just not changeable. Maybe there is not such a way. I absolutely don't know. Maybe we are going to have a war between AIs. One part of them is on our side, the other one is against us. No idea. This is a very ASMR kind of topic. Why should I go to just chatting? ASMR has started with stuff like that. When I watched ASMR in the beginning, like 2015, most of the videos were just chatting videos in a soft voice. Nah, most of the videos were ASMR can be many different things. I mean, I'm the ASMR artist here, let me decide. I don't want to go into just chatting. Just chatting is the odd category. I can do ASMR just chatting. Zixel, that is very good possible, yes. I mean, there are still dystopian ideas how those three laws of Asimov may, be like kind of worked around. I don't know. I mean, there will be definitely difficult ASMRs, anything. Anyone calling themselves an ASMR says it is a good idea. Well, why not? I mean, you can, it's experimental ASMR. I think there's just, as long as I'm not screaming around and talking in a soft voice, it's ASMR enough. I mean, I don't like, what do you gain from me going over to just chatting? It's like, you don't gain anything from that. It doesn't change anything. I mean, if someone doesn't like it, just don't watch it. Twitch rules, but Twitch doesn't know what's ASMR better than the ASMR artists. I will argue with them. I mean, I was whispering, okay, I'm gonna whisper this whole thing from now on. Then they can't say it's no longer ASMR. I mean, are there any descriptions of what is and no longer is ASMR? Because honestly, like, maybe I should look up some of the older videos where people were just discussing stuff. It's just they would sit down and whisper about like how their day went and what they were doing and what they ate and what plans they have for future and stuff like that. And in the Russian ASMR community, there was very little trigger. That was for a very long time super unpopular. It was popular in the English-speaking community, but not at all in the Russian one. Role plays were somewhat popular, and just talking. It is Baltalka, which means just talking about random things. And these were pretty popular, but they were almost not on my channel because I was not so interested in it. I still wouldn't do them on Twitch, yes, but on a video I would not do something like that because I don't have anything to say. Like, I'm not smart enough to have an opinion that I feel like I need to share in a video like that. But on Twitch is more like we're just chatting here in ASMR voice. Yeah, and I mean, you could make the point that e-legging isn't ASMR, and then you'd have to have that all out of the category. I mean, I don't like 2015, there was no ear licking. I think ASMR is such a broad thing, and we really don't know it. We don't know what's part of it and what isn't, and I think that's the exciting thing about that. It's still in development. Still new things coming in. I see that there's a lot of like criticism about what we accept as ASMR and what not, and what ASMR can be like and what it can't be like, and what is harmful for ASMR and what isn't harmful for ASMR. And I disagree with most of that. I think it's natural development, and everything people want to do and call it ASMR, they can. I don't think that ASMR is taking any harm from it. It's like, you know, what kind of music do you love? What are you allowed or not allowed to do in a music video? It's like really just up to the creator and what the audience likes. I actually like about ASMR that it is so broad. For example, there are triggers that I absolutely never watch, but other people really love them. And then there are other triggers that I absolutely love, and other people say that's not ASMR. I've been actually told many times that, hey, you're doing this role-playing thing that's like not ASMR, that's like not sound. And to me, ASMR is like, there are different categories. It can be like sound-based, it can be visual-based, and then there's the thing that is my absolute favorite in ASMR, and that is this feeling that you get in a certain situation, like for example at the doctor's office, or you know, like for example when you're sick and someone is taking care of you, and just the way it's done. Like, there are videos, for me they are the best ever. They don't have to be good in visual or sound, I don't care about that. If there's something in that video coming through that reminds me of something that I have felt maybe as a child, it is going to be the best ASMR video for me. And there are other people who don't have any interest in that, and they call those kind of videos like bad ASMR. Like, they really think it's bad, and to me that may be the best ASMR video ever made. So what I think is important, and what I want to focus a lot on in this year, I want to make videos that I like, where I think, okay, this is the type of good ASMR that I can make. Like, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm definitely not the best ASMR artist, but I believe that I have the love for ASMR, and I believe that when you do something with love and from your heart, then it's always good. Maybe not for everyone interesting to watch, but it's, you know, it's definitely not bad. That is my true belief. and in every topic, not only ASMR. Yes, exactly. Like grooming from you know, chimps and monkeys. I mean, we live in a society where we also isolated. Like, I'm most of the time at home, right? And I just love about ASMR that it can give you those good feelings, you know, taking away like anxiety and, you know, the stress in your body, and just you know, make you feel good and appreciated. That's a good thing. The next day you wake up, you're feeling refreshed, you go to work. I mean, of course, it's better when you don't need ASMR because your life is perfect, but let's be true, there are not many people who can claim that. Teufelchen, has the whole AI topic made you anxious? Well, maybe my AI video won't be so good for you then, because but it's gonna be a good AI. It's not gonna be a bad one. I like to believe in good things, and I also believe that what we believe actually plays a part in what is going to be. So we have to be positive about things. Yeah, the politics. Yes, that topic really really messes with my head a lot too. Like, I'm sorry that I triggered that, but I also believe there's just like it has to sometimes be that we talk about it. There's like a lot going on. TED Talk, well, not quite, but TED Talk, I'm prepared. Maybe if I had the time like to prepare something, and maybe the background that I actually know things. You know, I've heard on YouTube, you know, this conspiracy theory was really good. But I love conspiracy theories, they're so fun, even the bad ones. Like, I just like, I think they're so highly creative. It's like even flat earth is like, when you look what they say, it's like, wow, I'm almost believing. It's so creative. Maybe a little stupid, but really what people are capable of. And I mean, in flat earth, that's not dangerous. I don't think that, you know, I mean, most people don't believe it anyways. Well, I think it's a certain group of people, but it's not the middle of the people. But it can become the middle of the people depending on, you know, how things are being handled. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not informed enough. Okay. Birds aren't real. I have not heard that one yet. I mean, internet is being cleared of conspiracy theories now, so it's kind of like, I wanted to hear all of them. You have a flat earth friend. Well, probably he's a very imaginative and interesting person then. I personally don't mind when people believe, as long as they hurt no anyone. It's like, if you believe conspiracy theories, you're still welcome. I still like to talk to you, because it's still fun. I like people who believe that aliens are already on Earth, because I think they have so much like fun, you know, and so much fire when they talk about it. It's sweet. I don't know. I have looked for certain conspiracy theories and I couldn't find them, and I had to go on some dodgy sites to find them. And I was like, how is it even possible? Like, I couldn't even find it. And then, in order to find those conspiracy theories, what I had to do was, I was like finding random videos, and then in the comment sections, people would post like sites where you can find it. Because if you Google, you won't ever find those sites. And then when you go there, you get them all. But I mean, maybe it is dangerous. Maybe it's a good thing to hide that. I don't know. But for me, as someone who's like, I want to know the conspiracy theory, it's fun. And then I'm like, what are those dodgy sites that are being hidden by? I don't remember what it was called. It was like similar to YouTube, but like it looked different. But it was also like a video platform. And I was like, ooh, I found you. It was. Yeah, I probably won't say which one, because people are gonna be like, what, you believe that? I'm like, no, I don't say I believe that, I just wanted to look into it. Interesting point. JT94. With aliens, I have absolutely no opinion on that. I don't know. Podcast Supernatural, they have some conspiracies there. I'm gonna look into that. Podcasts can be very fun when it comes to stuff like Joe Rogan. It's like, but whenever Joe Rogan talks about Russia, that makes me so sad because I'm like, is he just as uninformed about all the other stuff? Oh, that makes me sad. It would have been better if he had never talked about Russia, because he's like sitting there thinking he knows something and really it isn't the case. And that's always like, when someone talks about interesting topics, and then there's one topic that they talk about that you also know something about, and that's the moment where you're like, oh, you know nothing. Oh, so all the other stuff you don't know anything too, right? Oh, that's also disappointing. But maybe it's just Russia that he doesn't know anything about, and all the other stuff he's like super knowledgeable. But I mean, he's very entertaining, and you don't watch him for information. Obviously, you watch him for the entertainment, and the entertainment is given. And like, he has really interesting people on there sometimes. The one with Edward Snowden, I love that one a lot. And a few other people who I found very interesting and very good podcasts where he lets the people talk a lot, and we get to know all the different DMT experiences of different people, and that's just fun. Kur, wo hast du die Idee genommen, dass ich irgendwas davon glaube? Ich habe doch, glaube ich, mehrmals gesagt, ich liebe es einfach. Das ist wie, ich weiß nicht, wie Märchen schauen, wie Fantasy lesen. Das ist einfach witzig. Also ich finde sie kreativ, ich finde sie witzig. Ich glaube nicht so einfach. Auch die Märchen, die offiziell sind, die glaube ich auch nicht so einfach. Nur wenn ich weiß, dass ich an etwas gut informiert bin. Ich bin an nichts perfekt informiert, aber es gibt Sachen, da weiß ich, da bin ich mehr informiert als der durchschnittliche Mensch, wegen den Erfahrungen und Hintergründen und allem Möglichen. Dann habe ich da vielleicht eine Meinung, aber die meisten Sachen habe ich gar keine Meinung zu. The mushroom guy and the Harvard professor. The mushroom guy is probably Paul Stamets, or not, I don't know. But the Harvard professor, I don't know who you mean. Because of something that's just been said in German, so please don't think that I believe conspiracy theories. I don't believe easily anything at all. I find them entertaining as when you would read like a fantasy book or watch a movie. It's just fun what people come up with, and I think it's very creative sometimes, but I don't believe things easily. Not that naive. It's unfortunately not snowing here, no. David Sinclair. I'm gonna look that up. I'm always interested. He had once a guy who was apparently working like Area 51 on alien technology. And it's like very out there what he's saying, like hard to believe. But the guy is so believable. Like you're watching this podcast and you're like, there's like, I don't know, there's no way he's lying. Maybe he dreamed it. I don't know, but very interesting. Hast du den Aluhut aufgesetzt? Vielleicht ist es gar keine so schlechte Idee mit den Aluhüten. Wir haben ja viele Wellen, die vom Wi-Fi und Elektrosmog, aber ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob der Aluhut hilft. Aber Elektrosmog soll gar nicht so ungefährlich sein. Und dann gibt es ja unterschiedliche Theorien. Das Problem ist, dass uns so oft gesagt wird, dass etwas ungefährlich ist, und später finden wir heraus, es ist gefährlich. Und es ist einfach jetzt in diesem Moment unmöglich zu wissen, was wirklich ungefährlich ist und wo wir angelogen werden wegen Geld. Well, I've seen definitely conspiracy theories. I mean, a conspiracy theory is a theory of a conspiracy, but a conspiracy is a real thing. We just may not know them, we may not have the theories about certain conspiracies, but that there are conspiracies, we know that. We just don't know which ones are true and which ones are not. And because of that, we should not just randomly believe conspiracies, because that can be very dangerous. Well, maybe they have anti-gravity vehicles, but I feel like if they did, they would have, use them in order to become more powerful or not. Like it's hard to imagine that there's supposed to be such an advanced technology and that's actually being hidden this long. Because like, what do you need it for if you don't really use it for your gain? And mostly people want to find things to use it for their gain. So that is where I'm like, if there is, then we would have seen by now. Especially in the 60s, come on. They would have used them so against Russia. Like they were just waiting for something to use against Russia, and they had nothing. Ja, wir sind sehr weit mit der Technik in einer kurzen Zeit, aber wie ich weiß, die offizielle Erklärung ist ja einfach, dass es halt ab einem bestimmten Punkt exponentielles Wachstum gibt. Und darum wird es halt immer schneller. Also exponentielles Wachstum ist halt, wir haben ja mittlerweile AI, die tatsächlich funktionieren und die Fortschritt bringen so viel schneller, als man es hätte jemals wissen können. Weil einfach, man kann ja, vor 30 Jahren kann man ja nicht voraussagen, was man hinkriegt mit AI. Weil wir haben keine Möglichkeit, so etwas vorauszusagen. Yes, conspiracies and trafficking on money. Yes, I believe so too, that there are quite a few true ones. That is actually really a sad part. Though I don't think they're all true. I think some of them are actually there to hide the actual, because they know how to spread certain conspiracies and hide others. And I think most of the conspiracy being out there, they're just Ablenkungsmanöver, distraction, there for destruction. Digital ruler, yes, you're right about that one. I think so too. I feel like, but this guy, he really, like, it's hard to not like, he seems so honest. I don't know. It's an odd story because there's also like proof that he actually had work there, and it's just really an odd story. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, this Zappa, I wouldn't even be surprised, but I think they have probably found a way around. I don't know. This is a very odd story. I've absolutely not like also tried to kind of like, but there's not so much information out there on Epstein. So I have no clue what exactly actually happened. They're so long. What I dislike about the internet is just the fact that I'm not saying that it's happening right now, but it's very easy to hide information, and it's like we think we can be informed on everything, that we can know the truth, and we know that we actually have an information war going on, and that is something like that's why I'm saying like I know nothing, because I really know nothing. I think yeah, I'm wondering where we're gonna be like 20 years from now. I hope some good place. The amount of anonymity on the internet, there's actually no real anonymity. I mean, for us, yes, but I think we are pretty good examined and controlled, and we're not where we want to be anonymous. There, we're not anonymous. But like, if we don't know each other, I mean, there's not much gain or loss there. Well, there's this idea that when we have AI, that we could live forever. But I think what will actually happen is that a few people will live very long, most people won't be granted, because then you can't have like kids anymore, and like, you know, the earth is like small. So if people don't die any longer, then that would change society pretty much, and I don't think they would. Maybe elongate a life a little bit with like health treatment, but maybe not even that. I don't know. But I wish for it. I wish for like treatment for diseases. It's like the main thing that I wish from AI. But I think if there is a way to be like close to immortal, at least, some people will do it. The ones who are already ruling, and then I don't know how you break out of that cycle. Yes, of course, an accident is still there, but still, just imagine we are being ruled by like maybe 0.1% of people who are the richest people on earth. And if those people could no longer like die except it's an accident, that would put the earth into a difficult situation. But on the other hand, it may be actually a good situation. Maybe once they live so long, they may actually find the desire to change the earth for better. Like, you don't know what happens. Yeah, being immortal is probably not so fun. But a bit longer would be nice. Magnum, yes, that's exactly the thing what I love about conspiracies so much. They just really, like, they don't, most of them don't really, okay, I don't, like, yeah, I think like those magical conspiracies, or how do you name them, they're really like calming, and you lie there and fall asleep to them. Yes, they cross it. It's not that something so, something that is considered so evil can be so calming, and like kind of like, it's fun. I also like documentaries about the universe to fall asleep to, or about the ocean, like deep sea, with all the creatures that are living there, and it's just scary, and it's just really, and we don't know anything about the bottom of the ocean and what's there, and it's just fun to watch that. to spread out among the stars, maybe. I mean, we're nowhere close there yet, but you think I can never be wrong? Really? I'm sorry I made that. I actually like to learn new things about certain topics and change my opinion, but also like I think it's a healthy thing to have an opinion and not always change. I actually made that mistake that I always try to take on other people's opinions. And when you're on the internet and you're being in contact with like many people who are all having opinion and they all want you to change your opinion for theirs, and I did that for a while, and I became very sick because you should have, as this human life experience, you should have an ego, and you should be very like, okay, maybe I'm even wrong, but it's okay to put like a ground and stay with your opinion until you have reason to change. So as long as I'm not given a reason to change an opinion, I'm not going to do that, and I don't think that's narcissistic. But of course, I think a narcissist could never know if they are a narcissist or not, so maybe, and they just wouldn't know. But at least that's not something that ever any close friend of mine or any family member of mine had ever told me, that, you know, they think that I could be that. Actually, I have here quite a few things to show you. A hipster? What does that have to do with a hipster? Don't hipsters admit that they're hipsters? Well, I for sure know I'm not a hipster. I think this one sounds quite good. But why would hipsters not admit that? I thought that's like what it's being about, to belong to a group of people who are having similar tastes or interests. That looks good, right? And it looks like that here. I think that's a very beautiful color. And those stones, they are very pretty in color. And there, another one. And here's one too. The collection is quite huge by now, actually. I'm going to show them all to you. Being a hipster is believing that your interests are uniquely yours and yours alone, and not follow a crowd. So the concept is to identify with a crowd which conflicts. Okay, I didn't know what's a hipster. Your interests are uniquely yours and yours alone. I don't know. I feel like I see a lot of criticism towards hipsters, but I don't know. I think they look fun. We have a hipster area in Cologne, and that is probably the most interesting area in the city. There are different shops and just a lot of going on. The little like bars and restaurants, and the people look very interesting there. So I like hipsters. It's just, maybe hipsters are just people who are, who are very creative, and less creative people like to look down on people who are very out there and very open. But I personally have never had any bad experiences with hipsters. Who knows, maybe I'm a hipster. I wouldn't mind. So this one has like many different stones here, and they're very pretty. Okay, now I'm gonna learn something about hipster. Do they have a collective style? I didn't know that. Particular ethic of consultation takes commodity the idea for Berlin and counterculture. Let me think about it. I mean, they're there for a reason, probably. Let's say a trend appears, and it's a good one, about being yourself, being unique. Being rebellious is maybe sometimes a good thing in considering how these things are going, and then more and more people are going into it. Does it change what the thing is originally or not? I don't know. What do you think? Maybe it's a good trend. Maybe being a hipster is a good thing, and we're just being really reluctant. But I really know nothing about hipsters. I've never really, I've been in that street where they reside, but I've never really had any contact, so I don't know. They're being haters. Okay, that's a bad thing. I heard that. I really know. That looks so good in this camera, don't you think? Turn it around. Always ask a hipster what one is. I think I'll do that one day. I will look at what exactly they look like, so I'm on the right address, and then I'm just gonna go to the person and say, "Hey, are you a hipster? Can you tell me about it?" And then I'll tell you what I know, and then we know better. So this one is also very pretty. It has got this kind of fetish. You can pat your face a little bit. In the Rhineland. That's where I am. Yeah, Rhineland is a very beautiful culture, actually. That's the most open-minded Germans of all of Germans, I think. They are like where the Rhine is going, and then the area around the Rhine. Very, very open-minded, friendly. They're sometimes a bit silly, sometimes a bit too much. But only for me too much, because I'm from the serious Russia. But they are amazing people. Yeah, and I think I like the people by the North Sea too, when I was visiting. But they are calmer. But Rhineland is very, very friendly people and very open-minded. They're like everything. There's a saying in Cologne that goes jeder Weg ist anders, which means how do you translate that? Every sind hier Kölner? Könnt ihr mir helfen? Every oddity is different. Basically every odd person is different, or not odd person, but every oddness in your head or in someone else's head is different. So basically, be accepting of everyone. Everyone is weird, and that's okay because everyone is kind of like that. And that describes very well how they are towards each other. Like, you can be really odd here, no one looks odd at you. And that's not everywhere in Germany like that. But in this area, you can wear whatever you want, you can act however you want. No one cares, and that's a beautiful thing. Yes, I have visited Bavaria, Bayern. Beautiful. Oh my god, that's the most beautiful part of Germany. It's so beautiful. I wish for everyone to be able to visit. I was in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, that is a small city or village in the Alps, and there are mountains all around, and there are a lot of mountain lakes, and the lakes are so insanely beautiful. And I was swimming in them. It was already cold. The water was like maybe 13 grades Celsius, 14 maybe, like in that area. But I was brave. I went into it every time when I was at a sea, at a lake. I was like, okay, I'm gonna swim. And that was really, really, really beautiful. And sometimes you can go to different places and you have like a lake, and then you have the mountains around and a little bit of nature. And all the tourists in that area are very enjoyable. They're calm, they're to themselves, they're not like, like very good atmosphere. And the Garmisch-Partenkirchen village is very unique too. I mean, Germans will probably know, it's a very famous place actually. War hier noch jemand in Garmisch-Partenkirchen? Kennt ihr das? Ich glaube, die Deutschen schlafen gerade alle, oder? Yeah, Brian, to be the whole summer in the mountains, I'm positively envious of that. It's a beautiful thing. I think nature can be very healing, and it's important to spend time. Ja, Garmisch ist schön. Schön zu sehen, dass da noch mehr dort waren. Welchen See fandet ihr dort am schönsten? Ich kann mich nicht mehr entscheiden. Da war ein See, wo ich war. Der war relativ klein und hat ausgesehen wie ein russischer See, so wo Zauberei passiert. Und da war so ein Wäldchen. Denk mal, so in so einem Wäldchen könnte eine Hexe wohnen. Und dann haben sie in Bayern ja diese Häuschen mit diesem Holz. Und so sind die traditionellen russischen Häuser gebaut. Und ich habe einfach die ganze Zeit gedacht, so, das ist wie nach Hause kommen hier. War echt schön. I think there is beautiful nature in every country. But I've seen like about America's nature. Wow, very beautiful. And I would like to see one day, like when I ever visit America, I think I would like to see some of the nature. Maybe some of the cities, I don't know, like New York or something. That would be interesting. Some city that, when I was little, like, ooh, America, ooh, New York. Or like, I don't know, San Francisco. we don't have deserts in Russia, but we also have beaches, mountains. I think we do. We have very interesting nature in Siberia, and that is also something that I want to do one day. To go somewhere where you can see a bear. Though I've heard in America there are also places with bears. They're different ones. What are they? Grizzlies? Are they grizzlies? The bears that live in America? The one in Russia are brown bears. Has any one of you ever seen like a real wild bear? Like not in a zoo, but like you drive with your car and like, ooh, there's a bear. Sad thing that Katarina decided to sell Alaska back then, and for so cheap. It would have been fun if Alaska had been Russian. That would have been very, very fun. I mean, for Russia. But Alaska is probably very beautiful. I could imagine it looks a little bit. Yeah, too bad. It really is bad and sad. Like really, like what did she even think? Okay, but you don't do that. You don't sell land like that. I mean, for people in Alaska, it's probably a good thing that they're American. They probably don't want to become Russian. Of course, as a Russian, I think everyone should become a Russian. It's a good thing. It's a very, very nice thing. I think there's so much Russian phobia in the world. Everyone thinks Russians are evil, and they're just not. I think it's not true. I've seen stuff on the internet. Things. Okay, the most beautiful one I'm going to say is the last one. But before, I'm going to show you this one, and I think this one is also good for sounds. You have feathers here, and you have feathers here. It's not a fan; it's just feathers. They're supposed to look apart. I liked Ivan Drago. I think that character was a very good representation of a Russian. And then the music comes in and they chose something that was actually at that time no longer. But who cares? But it was like, and oh no, the best representation was what's the movie's name where Arnold Schwarzenegger played a Russian, I think, he KGB agent? I don't know. But that one was actually a nice movie because they didn't drag Russia. They were really like almost self-critical in that movie, and I like that one a lot. Black Widow, I don't think I watched it. Did I watch it? I don't know. I have to see if I watched it. I think I didn't. I don't know. I looked into the audio after the stream. I don't know why. I didn't do anything. Okay, so this one is beautiful. You can tell. And the most beautiful one, I'm gonna show you now. Okay, ready? Look at this. I mean, it's a bit translucent because of the green, but just look at this beauty. And then here. Sounds quite nice. There's also a few feathers on the back and on the front. How do you like this sound? Ooh, my English is not flawless. But thank you very much for the compliment. It's gotten a bit better in terms of да, это мне они очень нравятся. Я хочу их использовать в видео. Что-нибудь шаманическое для вас сделать. Да. Разве не прекрасно? Мне кажется, идеально подходит для АСМР. Можно хорошо использовать в стримах. Безумно красиво. Только они такие нежные, филигранные, деликатные. Поэтому с ними надо аккуратненько, чтобы не сломались. Das hört sich gut an. Oh, you would expect I'm an immigrant? Well, that's nice. But I am an immigrant, only like digitally. I'm a digital immigrant. I mean, now that life is becoming more and more digital, maybe it counts as being an immigrant. Because I am creating content in English. And that is such a fun thing, because I always thought like, oh my god, I don't speak English, this is so embarrassing. And now, see where I am. Декорации какого города? А я не знаю, я просто видео выбрала. Ну, по-моему, очень красиво. Правда красиво? Мне нравятся такие города. Вообще очень люблю разные города. Digital ruler, thank you very much for 5,000 bits. I appreciate very much. This is so generous of you. Digital ruler. I've been actually neglecting the feet very badly today. I'm sorry about that. Digital ruler. Let me. today I'm kind of distracted a lot by the chat, looking all the time up into the chat. It isn't true thing for ASMR because, as I mentioned, I really enjoy personal attention ASMR. And being distracted by the chat isn't particularly a good thing for it. So, as you see, I'm wearing I'm still wearing a hefty hat, so I look more festive. I'm only festive here on the top. So good. Happy New Year, everybody. Som är en annan beroende. Ja, nou, det schon das Thema. Manche finden das okay, sondern andere sagen, nicht ASMR. Deswegen freut es mich, dass du das magst. Ich mache es ja sehr selten, so Streams wie heute. Okay. Okay. Which one do you like most? This one? Or this one? There's the stones here. And here the beads. And here the feathers. So next to each other. Okay, the peacock one. Okay, then let's copy. Which one do you like more? This one? Or this one? Tak. Okay. And then there's these two. I think these are very different, so you can't really compare it to the peacock one, but I have also the other ones though. I have so many. I don't even know how to use this many. Oh my god, I have so many. And I have two more, but they're not here yet. Just look at this. Well, what do you say? So colorful. And that's what happens when my mama finds a new hobby. And I have two more. I have forgotten to take them over and show them next stream maybe. Yeah. hard to choose a favorite, right? When there's so many of them. And this here, it's all handmade. Even this here, even that one is handmade. What inspired her? I wanted to buy some, and I looked up and I was like, and then she said, I make that. And then she found them all so beautiful, and then she would look them up, how they look, and just she ordered all the stones, read up on it, and really put so much love into this. And yes, I wanted to have some for when, on stream, but I did not intend to buy so many. And now I have so many. But it's like, when you find a new hobby and then you want to try out different things, I get that, because I'm like that too. When I find something interesting, I want to do a lot of it. So let me put it down. To find a good place to store them, because the feathers, they're very and they are very okay. This one. And this one. This one. And don't fall. That sounds good. The devastated one. Thank you very much for your sweet words. Glad you enjoyed the streams. Thank you, my dear. Well, today I think the stream was very unusual, but I just wanted to come into the new year with all of you. And tomorrow I hope that, well, it depends. I hope I will be able to fall asleep today. I'm still, like, right now, I'm not completely there. And yeah. I like Indiana. When in Russia, we liked Indiana a lot. So for us, it was like I don't know, we just like them. It's like we felt close to them. I think even culturally, because Russia is much more. We are. No, the people, the Maya. We are originally. We are more. What's the word? Pagan, probably. But pagan is not the right word, because we think it's a bad word, not descriptive. But for you would call that pagan, but it's a bit different. And then Christianity came, and probably not in such a very good way. And what happened basically was that we never really, for a very long time, it was like, we're just gonna act like we're Christians, so we're not killed or something. But in reality, we still believe all stuff. And what we have nowadays is that our Christianity is very close to our old roots. It's like, like just giving different names to things. And in our culture, there are many rituals from those old times. And when you grow up, you don't understand what you believe. Like, oh, you may think you're Christian, but actually you're not. And it's just very, very strong there still in people. And it really is something that you can't just easily get rid of. It's just the way you view world, the way you believe things. And and because of that, very big appreciation for all old for people who are still having that a little bit in themselves, like this old kind of approach to the world. Like, it's also very very close to the nature kind of belief. Like, I feel like in Christian societies, it's kind of like going away from nature, while our more old religions, or I don't know, religions, maybe not the right word for that, but it's kind of very deeply rooted in nature. And we have that still a lot. Yes, we still, for example, my best friend, right? She'll be, she's old beliefs. And so because of that, it kind of it speaks to us. All this kind of stuff and everything speaks to us. we have that a lot in our culture. It's the fairy tales we grew up with, and everything. It's just, and I mean, even if it's like Christian fairy tales, but when you really look into it, it's actually not Christian fairy tales. So there is that in Russia. Tavares, thank you very much for the cheer. And Mars, thank you very much for 9 months of support. I appreciate it. We haven't talked about politics. You mean generally. Religion. I don't know. Why are those topics so bad? I don't understand that. Don't understand. In Russia, actually, we talk a lot about politics. Religion actually less, because we've been, most of us probably still a little bit atheistic, but with some supernatural belief in the unconscious level. But we don't really talk that much. We do love like stories, that kind of stories. We do like to talk about that in Russia. And we like talking politics and whatever. And in Russia, you can't harm anyone's feelings with, you can say whatever we want in Russia. No one's feelings gonna be hurt. No, it's gonna be like, ooh, you talk about politics all you want. Like, they may be loud and discussing back and having their own opinion, but they appreciate the conversation still. No, northern. I think Polish people. I mean, it's also like, our group of people. I think that's very, very common in our like post-Soviet countries to be very open about politics. Also, something that I found different when I moved to Germany, and generally, you cannot imagine how different the Western world is to where I am originally from. Not in a good or bad way, just very different. And I find very good to learn from a new world, but also I would like for people to look to us and maybe learn from us too, because there is to learn. I found it insanely fascinating, the world that opened up after learning. Oh no, I forgot that one. The world that opened up after learning English. It's like, I wish I could learn Chinese. I think that would be like the best language to learn in order to kind of like gain new views on the world. Because like without speaking Chinese, there's just no way for me to know certain things. Because they're not really translated in other languages, you know. They're translated but with propaganda. But I don't like to have it from the source. But there's no way I learn Chinese. Just for my curiosity's sake. In 2 years, wow, insane. That is cool. Chinese in 2 years. I think Chinese is probably a very difficult language. I think that looks... Thank you very much. I wish you a good new year, dear Tavares. I think good languages to know are English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish. Yeah, those. If you speak those languages, I think you are much better informed than anyone else on what is going on in the world. Good night, dear Digital. Good night, good night, good night. Digital 717. Yeah, German is probably less important to know, just because, I mean, what you can read up. No, there are certain things that you can know in German that probably you won't find in English, like interesting debates you can listen to by actually interesting people who are actually debating. Usually, for example, if on TV, then only in the night. You're never gonna have a nice debate in the daytime, never. Only when most people are asleep is when they bring the interesting debates. But they're also on the internet. You can find, and there are sometimes very interesting topics, which I don't know, I didn't find those in English. Yeah, but other than that, I think in order to understand like where the world's heading, English, Russian, Chinese, and Spanish. Probably Spanish, maybe. I mean, Spanish may be less important than, for example, Chinese. But I think just because it's culturally very rich, and I think probably interesting things are going on over there, and I think there are many intelligent people who have a lot to say. So, and I could imagine that Spanish-speaking countries, that they actually have debates going on, and that's always a good thing. Because here in Germany, debates are rare. Yeah, you definitely need to learn English. There's no way around it. English is the world language, and in an interconnected world like that, there's no way. There's no way. But I mean, most people actually do speak English. What I think English people or American people would benefit from is to really learn languages as well, because it is not only about how you need it in your daily work, but it changes the way you think about the world. It's like very important, especially if it's from a language of a big culture, for example, or from a politically influential country, or something like that. The world will never speak German. German is actually quite complicated to learn. It wouldn't be a good language for the world. English is a good choice. Spanish would have been a good choice too, because I've heard Spanish is also well, good learnable. It's not only about what countries, how many people speak a language, but also I think there is momentan very important, like political importance going on between America and China, and in terms of like world politics, and a lot of propaganda also going on against each other. And I feel like if you speak those two languages, you could see much better through what's going on. Spanish is more difficult to learn than English. I don't know. I've heard it is like easy to learn, but I have absolutely no experience. English is definitely a nice language to learn. Like it works well as the first language because it's very learnable. Maybe not to a level where you're like a native, but that's with any language difficult to achieve. But I can tell when I was learning English, I was using German books, and I was like so happy that it's English I have to learn, not German, because definitely German is way more grammatically way more intense. English has a lot of words, but like a lot of words. I think in terms of amount of words, it's probably most words of all languages. But at the same time, you don't need them all, and English people also don't know them all. So the active vocabulary is in all languages probably about the same. Yes, the conjugations are so simple, and I love about English that it doesn't have genders for words. I mean, I think I would have managed very well. I think I would have learned that, but still, it's good it isn't there. With German, that is one thing that a lot of foreigners struggle with, to like gender. How do you gender? Like to know that die Sonne, that the sun is female, and there's like no way for you to learn, to know, but to learn. Or in Russian we have also gendered words, and yeah, you have to learn for every single word. And then not only that, but it changes differently. The first part, like the z, like the American, like the sun. In German it's die Sonne, and the is translated to German as either die, der, or das. And then when you speak, der, die, and das will change depending on what what's the English name for that? I forgot the word, the grammar word, but basically it all changes differently, so that makes it harder. Do they have a German accent? That's actually interesting, because some people say I have like an Eastern European accent, like Russian or something. Others say I have a German accent. Like, if you didn't know, what would you guess where I'm from? С Новым годом! Спасибо, что ты здесь тоже. Так, the first of me. С Новым годом! Is it German? I guess I got of the Russian. Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't mind to have Russian accent. More German, but both. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that you get the accent in the next language, the accent from the previous language that you've learned. So basically, when I learn English, I'll get a German accent, not a Russian one. And maybe if I learn Spanish, possible I would get like an English accent, but I don't know. But I've heard something like that. So it would be interesting if I spoke Spanish with an English accent. Like someday you just don't know where the person is from. Every language with an accent. Я просто заснула и проспала Новый год. Я хотела стримить в Новый год, но я последние дни очень мало спала. И я заснула, проспала Новый год, проснулась и сказала, ладно, тогда постримлю на американский Новый год. The tree, that one. It is so full with toys that you can't see the tree anymore. I like trees where it's just a few toys and you can actually see the green still. They don't look so impressive, but they look so much more New Year to me. This one is just too that looks almost like it's not real, like it's just plastic. 2222. Ну что, думаете, мы достигнем? Может быть, нам получится всем жить дольше, потому что мы продвигаемся в науке. Так, в 2222 мы будем здесь в Твиче сидеть, вместе встречать. Я загадаю это. Загадываю, что в 2022 году, 2222 году мы здесь все вместе опять собрались. Здоровые, умные, красивые, веселые. И уже земля такая вся ухоженная. Мы за ней больше так не издеваемся над ней. И все прекрасно. И роботы нам помогают все делать правильно, умно и красиво. Было бы классно, правда? Верите, что это возможно? Нет, я не пью. Я спать хочу. Don't understand. I'm sorry about that. Let me make it up to you by burning some. I have some matches here. Mystery. No mystery. No. One is not gonna be enough, is it? No, that's not gonna be enough. So, but now. Я планирую возврат, я как раз работаю над видео, но просто я там хотела сделать некоторые штучки и поняла, что я просто вообще ничего не знаю, ничего не умею, и поэтому мне надо учиться и учиться и учиться. Я сейчас пытаюсь понять, как мне сделать это видео. Вот, учу программу немножко. Вот, поэтому надеюсь, что в новом году. Так. a little bit of smoke and around, around, around. Very good. And around. Огонь странно выглядит. Это может быть из-за гринскрина. Такое бывает. Окей. So, what I'm going to be doing now, I will cover your whole body in this. Burn a little bit more. This white smoke. Okay. It smells so good. It doesn't burn so well as it should. Так. Так. So, I will be covering your whole body. Like that. It's always best to gather a little bit. Like that. And the smoke is very warm, especially when I come closer. When I come closer to your ears. A little bit more. I can still see it, but I think on camera sometimes a bit difficult to see. It crackles beautifully. So okay, I'm just going to go all around you. Here by your ears as well. I have put red nail polish underneath the nails, and now it is peeling off, and I need to put in a new one, or it just doesn't look good anymore. It looks odd. I didn't like the way it looked without the red nail polish for the video, but with it peeling off, it looks even worse. So I need to refresh. So good. Now next, Средняя Азия, это, наверное, было очень интересно. Да, это звучит очень интересно с таким большим количеством дома. Так, я потушу. У меня, к сожалению, немножко меньше. Но если бы было много, то аларм включится. Тоже нехорошо. Возьмем вот этот. The first of me. Очень приятно, что нравится видео. Надеюсь, что очень скоро смогу выложить новое. Вот, но пока еще проблемы в процессе. Не все решены. So now I'm going to be using this fan. And I will be slowly tap, tap, tap. Relax. Relax. Akio Boost. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Riki, thank you very much for 6 months of support. I appreciate it very much. I think if some languages are spoken faster, I don't know, but I think it's more about the person, and I just talk faster in Russian because I'm more comfortable. I need to be doing less thinking, and with English I'm trying to be more deliberate with words, because other way I may get stuck and say a lot. So when I slow down, and also I think maybe more I speak slower. Still learning. Thank you very much for cheering. I wish you a happy new year too. Dieses Geräusch, mögt ihr nicht? Oh, ich mag dieses Geräusch. Oh dear Mike, this is so sweet of you. Thank you very much for the tip. Mike, I will be using these beads. They have this amazing sound, and I will be using them to relax you. Very good. Now, Mike, relax. Relax, dear Mike. Relax. Relax. I will be ending the stream now because I have a lot of things to do today. We are going to see each other hopefully in the evening, maybe a little bit earlier today, we'll see. But I hope I will fall asleep somewhere throughout the day and maybe it's not gonna be too bad. Right now I'm really struggling with sleep a little bit. I hope that I can fix that soon. So, but I'll try to be here in the evening tonight, this evening. And I want to wish all of you a good night or a good morning. I want to wish to you a good year. Because 2022 is just starting, and I believe this is going to be the best year yet. Let's leave all the negative things in 2021. Let's take all the positive that was into 2022. I hope that into the future, because that's the only way to do things. We are here to believe in the good. We should never close our eyes. We should look at things with positivity and strength. At least I believe so. Oh, it's too loud. Okay, I will be trying this microphone. Thank you for spending the new year eve or morning, depending on where you are. Thank you for spending it with me tonight. And I'll see you in the evening. I put that away. So take as much positivity with you as you only can. And I think the lens works pretty well actually. When I sit here, it's not completely looks like I'm in that room. That room may be not perfect today for looking realistic. Not a good position of the camera maybe. But I think I can work with that lens. I definitely want to use it to make some shoots for the video that I'm working on, so I think that works. Yeah. See you later in the evening. Bye bye.